Welcome to the Catalyst of Change, Advancing Equity and Inclusion in Science. This seminar is in English with interpretation available in Spanish and French. Kindly select the language of your preference in the Zoom bar menu. This seminar is being recorded and made available on the CIMIT YouTube channel. You are invited to submit questions via Slido for our distinguished speaker of today to be addressed in the open Q&A session right after the conversation. We are hearing today from Eugenia Saini, Executive Secretary of FONTAGRO, a Senior Executive in Agricultural Development in International Technical Cooperation. Eugenia will have a conversation with Moti Jaleta, an agricultural economist based at CIMIT Ethiopia, expert on crop varietal monitoring using innovative approach, adoption, and impacts assessment of improved agricultural technologies for sustainable intensification in Eastern and Southern Africa. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Brian Govers, Director General of CIMIT, to officially open the event and introduce our distinguished speaker of today. Dr. Govers, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. Welcome to Catalyst of Change, Advancing Equity and Inclusion in Science. This series is about recognizing something fundamental, that science is stronger, more relevant, and more impactful when it is inclusive. When we bring in diverse voices, women, underrepresented regions and groups, indigenous communities, and many others, we're not just being inclusive, we are improving the quality of the solutions we generate. Because the challenges we face, climate change, food insecurity, fragile livelihoods, are complex, interconnected, and deeply human. And they require perspectives that reflect that complexity. Today, we are honored to welcome a leader who embodies this vision. Eugenia Saini has spent more than 25 years advancing agriculture innovation, institutional transformation, and regional collaboration across Latin America and beyond. As Executive Secretary of FONTAGRO, she leads powerful platforms that connect countries, institutions, and ideas, turning science into tangible impact for farmers and communities. Her work demonstrates how partnerships, smart investment, and inclusive innovation ecosystems can accelerate productivity, strengthen climate resilience, and improve rural well-being at scale. She's joined today by our own colleague Moti Jaleta, whose work in agriculture economics continues to deepen our understanding of how innovations reach farmers, markets, and beyond. Together, this conversation will help us explore critical questions. How do we ensure that innovation in agriculture is not only advanced, but inclusively, accessibly, and truly transformative? At CIMIT, we believe that equity is not a side conversation. It is central to delivering our mission. So thank you for being with us today. I invite you to stay engaged, to share your questions, and keep having this dialogue. And with that, thank you, Eugenia. Thank you, Moti. Eugenia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, dear Bran, for this invitation, and thank you to all CIMIT team. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this initiative, and also thank you for make Latin America be part of this too. I'm happy to share with all of you my path as an agronomist at the beginning, and then how I was changing during my career to different areas of knowledge, understanding that in order to give solutions to farmers, we really need to learn different disciplines, and we need to make then all the disciplines to see how they can work together in order to provide these solutions not only to farmers, but also to governments and also to institutions. Moti, I prefer to just interact with you. So if you want to start like the question, or you prefer that I just go through my career?
Would be nice, Eugenia, if you continue explaining or giving some highlights on your career path.
Sure.
And professional leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. So when I started, I think it was in my 12 or 13-year-old when I was in a farm, and I decided to learn more about how to feed the world. That happened around the 80s. So even though before I decided to become an agronomist, I was thinking of being an astrophysics, I always love, to understand how, the universe work, and I was very good at physics and chemistry. So I was doubting which of the both were going to be my future, but trying to see how we can fit the future better was at the end the decision I made. And so I started as an agronomy. I did all my career at the University of Buenos Aires at the School of Agriculture. And very soon, just after my first year at the school, I was invited to give classes by the dean. And for me, that was very surprising. And the dean of the university, he said to me, why you don't get the new cohort of students next year and you start working with them in a subject that was related with the work in the field. So I started as, it was not a professor, but I was an assistant at my very early stage. I think it was in my 19. And I really got committed with all the students, my colleagues at that time as well, in learning everything that we could. The University of Buenos Aires they have an agricultural school with a program that is really, really very intensive and very complete. We went from chemistry, physics, and mathematics, and also to sociology at the end. So it was, I think, more than 50 courses. And during those years, I think I was there for 5 years and a half. I also decided to join in graduate school. So I didn't wanna, I'm always very excited to learn. So I didn't even wait to finish my career. I started to taking classes at the graduate school at the university. And my focus was always in trying to understand how crops can adapt to dry areas. So I was studying a lot about sunflower and also other species that we have in Patagonia. So I went through that. I finished that first degree. I did a research about sunflower production in Argentina. And also I started mixing the production side with commercial and marketing strategies. So I went into trading. So soon I understood that most of the problem that farmers have is when they are starting the planting season, they are sure about the cost, but they are not sure about the price that they are going to get. So I joined all the trading subjects, and also how to make options, call, put, and how farmers can do forward contract in order to set a price by the time they have to sell, and they have to harvest, and they have to sell. So that started to make in my career another second path that was related with economics and was related with marketing. So when I finished my first degree as an agronomist, I joined at the private sector, and that was the best learning I had at that time. That was at the end of the 90s. I worked in very important companies. At that time was Monsanto. And then someone offered me to work at the government, and I say, no, I think it is time I really need to work in the private sector and learn. So I joined in a supermarket company, one of the biggest in Argentina. And I was doing really bad job. I mean, bad job in a way that it was very hard because we were working from Monday to Saturday. It was a very tight schedule, but I learned everything about livestock, the livestock value chain, from the production to the shelf in the supermarket. And working with them, I really understood what the problems they have. So I detect 2 very important problems for that company, and I tried to make a solution, and I did it. One of the solutions was I designed a digital system to make sure that the company knows exactly when they have a short term on the product on the shelf and they need to be replaced, because that includes a lot of logistics with the suppliers, especially for fresh products. And then I learned that animal identification and traceability was also a problem, because the farmers, when they sell their cows, they don't know exactly, how the cows are weighted, how the cows are, how the invoice they get reflects a real price for the cows they sell. So I designed a program for rewarding farmers on selling the best herds they have for the company, but also I started to design an identification and traceability system for the company. In that system was also later become a program that I sell to another company, and also later become the national system. That was really excellent experience, because I went from trying to identify a problem, try to solve the problem, and also go to the government level and say, this is the regulation that we need in the country, and this is the way I think we need to start working with farmers' organization and the industry in order to be sure that we are able to export the beef to the European Union. So on that process, also, I decided I was captured, in a way to say, for another company. And I started to lead the animal and traceability system for that company, one of the biggest agribusiness company in Argentina. And they say, no, we need to do more with this. And they, contact companies in Ireland that they wanted to buy all the herd and cows, beef. And then I started to talk to a lot of farmers. Every time that I was going to the farms, I was working in farms like as any other person in the farm. And I have a lot of very funny stories on that too. So one person heard me one time giving a talk for farmers in my country. And I remember he said, Eugenia, anytime that you wanted to join in the public sector, we would like to, work with you in the policy design side and, see how we can do better to the agricultural sector. And at the beginning, I was not convinced. But then after 3-4 months, I decided that was a good idea, because I was having so much experience from the private sector. I think it was a good timing for trying to see how the public sector works. So I joined the public sector, and at that time I decided to also get a second degree, which was not related with agriculture. It was totally opposite. That was accounting. So I am a national public accountant. And the reason for that is because every time we need to develop policy for farmers, we need to understand the business, and we need to understand how those farmers are related to the economic system in the country. So I did that. I learned a lot, and in that part, I realized how much I love finance, and especially when we know that financing science is one of the more difficult or more challenging, not difficult, I would say challenging aspect that we all have right now in Latin America, but I think in the rest of the world. So after I was awarded with a Fulbright scholarship at that time, so I'm very thankful to the U.S. government and the State Department. I never won anything, by the way. So for me, it was a whole experience to be awarded with that Fulbright scholarship. And I went to Virginia Tech for a while, and then they moved me to Cornell University. And that was a really changing point in my life, because I had to work with people from at least 94 different countries. And that created for me an opportunity to interact with people that, they come from different countries, different agricultural sectors, priorities, political problems, geography, social problem as well, religions. It was one of the best time. After that training, I realized that there is a lot that we contribute to the world, not just to one country. And that was the point when I started more an international career. So soon I joined in FONTAGRO a little bit by coincidence. I was working first at the Inter-American Development Bank in the chair of Argentina and Haiti, and that also helped me to get in contact with FONTAGRO and my ex-boss, Dr. Hugo Lipun, which I also am very thankful to him. It was a great experience to learn from him. He offered me to work in FONTAGRO since I think 2015, 2014, more or less. I was not expected to be the executive secretary, honestly, but when all the people start to say, no, you have to apply, you have to compete. So I decided to apply and compete, and I won the position. And well, I'm here in FONTAGRO since 2018. And I also want to say that this is my last year. I'm finishing my term at the end of the year, and I'm very glad about all the people I met, all the scientists and consortia of scientists that I was able to help and contribute to them, and also to different board of directors that I have to went through. So this is more or less a little bit about me. And Moti, I'm happy to follow with you on this.
Thank you, Eugenia. What an inspiring journey that you passed through. Started as an agronomist, went into economics, and then to the private sector. You moved to the public, and finally, now you are at the international position as Executive Secretary for the Regional Fund for Agricultural Technology. That's really inspiring. There is a lot that we can learn from you today. Maybe as an icebreaker, I would like to start with a simple question. With the recent success of Artemis 2 to the space, do you really miss your, childhood aspiration to be an astrophysicist?
Well, actually not, because I'm always learning about that. I'm always connected to NASA, and I'm always looking on, what is going on, and I follow up on satellites. There is so much information that we have today online. And 2 or 3 years ago, I got contact with Ohio State University. They have a team that they are building the new International Space Station. So I got contact with them. We did 1 or 2 webinars, and one of my challenges now is how we can put together some experiment for the next International Space Station that is going to be launched in 2030, I think.
Yep.
So I'm always connected with that. And if you know my
that's great. I'm not
Yeah.
getting into that, just to provoke you some thought on that, I see, but
It's
good
amazing.
to hear. Yeah,
It's amazing.
good to hear. Yeah, coming back to your current role as executive secretary, Eugenia, I mean, every career, comes with some ups and downs. And if you could tell us about challenging periods you faced in your professional journey, how you worked through it, and how that experience really helped in shaping the next phase in your career. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. One of the biggest challenging, and that also made me have up and down, is I realized also being in the same region how disconnected sometimes organizations are. And if we go to the political side, we have countries in Latin America that they change, even presidents, minister of agriculture, directors all the time. So trying to make a board of directors that I can work with continuously is very difficult. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges. For example, if I am working in one country super well, and I am developing, a program or some ideas, and, in the next morning, that person doesn't exist anymore because it was replaced. That is something that is sometimes hard for me. So I always need to look for a different approach, and I have to adapt to that, because this is the normal. The normal is that you are working with people in the policy level, and that they are now, and maybe tomorrow they are not, they are gone, because the government changed or someone else changed it. So it's like start from zero again. So something that I'm trying to be better all the time, and I'm trying to learn from others, is how I can keep this coherence with the organizations that I work. And that happened with scientists sometimes. You are working in a consortia with some scientists, and maybe the scientist is replacing for other person because the person resigned. So that kind of changes that happens all the time, I think is, something that is a big challenge for me. And I think it's going to be for the next executive secretary as well. How to make, not to start from zero every time. Does that make sense, Moti?
Yeah. Thank you for that. Staff turnover is a challenge, especially when those with good institutional memory are leaving, and starting afresh with newcomers is always a challenge. Maybe related to that, as an executive secretary of FONTAGRO, you are leading an organization that mobilizes resources and at the same time making this resource available to the agricultural research system in the different countries you're working in, Latin America and Caribbean countries. Mobilizing resource and also allocating resources both challenging in a way that, especially mobilizing is, you have to seek and have a good proposal to get funding for that, in addition to what the governments are contributing. And allocation is also another challenge, because in one way you have to balance equity, and in another way you have to prioritize, funds to their more impactful research in the different countries. So what are the strategies you follow to balance between these two?
Thank you. So first of all, I work with the board of directors on trying to prioritize, have the priorities on what they want to invest, and have a plan and a strategy. And a strategy first, and then on a plan to implement the strategy. So when the board is aligned to that strategy, which I also work with universities and private sector on that, I start working in FONTAGRO in two different windows. One is the call for proposals, and the other one is joint projects. So I would like to talk about the joint projects. So in our board meetings, we always go through where the priorities are. What happened with coffee? What happened with cacao? What happened with some kind of diseases like citrus greening? So once the board agrees on which are the priorities that they want to follow in a year, what I start doing is saying, okay, how we can create a research consortia, but also with the private sectors and farmers organizations and the industry. It's depend of each case. And also we work in developing these type of priorities for each country. It's not an easy process, but thanks to the digital tools, we gather virtually frequently, I will say weekly, until we find, the main 3 or 4, not more than 5 areas to work in every specific topics. I would like to explain this with an example, and maybe it sounds better. So, for example, we have now 2 very important problems in Latin America that also could affect the North America, which is the new screwworm, and also citrus greening. So last year, we started talking with some partners in the US, especially universities and also the USDA and many others related with the industry. And in February this year, we convened in the University of Florida, the scientists from Latin America, but also the private sector in the US and US universities, and officials from USDA and other organizations. So in 1 week, we gathered the best scientists in the whole Western Hemisphere, from Alaska to Patagonia, for the 2 topics, for New World screwworm and also for citrus greening. And we already have now 2 consortia of research with scientists from the whole hemisphere. And the US scientists are mobilizing funding with the US, and we are mobilizing funding with FONTAGRO to do the research in Latin America. Why this is important? Because sometimes there are some researchers that they cannot do their research in their country, for example, in the US, because they don't have the disease. So they want to learn. So we have an infrastructure, we have assets in Latin America that can be used for all scientists worldwide to learn. And we can apply this to Africa as well. If we have scientists in Africa that they don't have right now citrus greening problem or New World screwworm, we can create a consortia and make them connect with Latin American countries that they have that problem, and they can learn one each other and figure it out what the best advices they can give, not only to farmers but also to the government. So this is the kind of things that I think FONTAGRO need to work with, and every time more open to other regions. I think the tool of the consortia, the research consortia, is very important because we break silos. We don't want scientists that work in their own field and they don't know anything about it, about other fields. So we gather people from communications, economics, experts in health, animal health, human health, scientists that work in the field. That research consortia, I think, is the tool that we need to foster in science, looking to the future. I mean, now actually, and looking to the future. So this is the way that we work, trying to follow the strategy that the boards assign to us, and also how we can organize the scientific side, with all the researchers in these consortiums, and make a project that could be implemented in 3 years, no more than 3 years, because we understand that in the case of FONTAGRO, we are looking for quick solutions, quick wins. We are not looking at long-term science. We are looking at the science at the gate. It's a TRL 6, TRL 7. So this is, I think, one of the best way that we are approaching in how to create this space for science to speed innovation as well.
Thank you so much. That's really inspiring. I'll come to the intercontinental kind of learning, but before that, I would like to ask you, Eugenia, in addition to the role that you have as an executive secretary, you also continue to actively engage in research and contribute to high impact publication as well. Looking at your CV, now there are 2 great articles that you published in Science in 2023 and 2024. My question is not on the depth of that, but how do you effectively manage your time and balance the dual demands of scientific scholarship and executive leadership?
It's a good question. I don't know how I do it, but I do it. I think something that I didn't mention to you is like I decided to join in a master in applied economics 2 years ago. So I finished that, and then last year I finished another postgraduate in finance. And when I wrote in Science, it was mostly trying to bring these other disciplines that we are not paying attention to, like the finance and corporate science side, to science. What I do is mostly I use my weekends. My weekends is the time where, since the time I wake up, and I have to say that I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. This is since I have memory, like in my 12-year-old, I always like to wake up very early, and I always plan my day. And in that plan, I follow just because I don't want to miss any second of the day and the weekend, knowing that it's very short for all the things I want to do. I always read and research. I am always researching something during the weekends. And a lot of people can witness that, because when they send me emails on the weekends, I just answer right away. But that doesn't mean that I don't do other things. I'm very active also in sport as well. But the weekends is the time, and also sometimes for getting more knowledge, all the new trainings that I do, I mostly do it 2 or 3 times in the week at night. And this is my recommendation to everybody. I know that it's hard, especially for people that need to, care about the kids. But I think just give to you 1 day a week at night, 2 hours or 3 hours. I think it's 2 hours where you can learn something different. And if you go to these platforms like EDX or many other platforms where you can learn, just pick something that, you get curious about it. and dedicate 1 day a week. And by the end of the year, you will see how much you have done on learning other stuff. Learning, could be finance, it could be nutrition, it could be sports, it could be, everything is related with agriculture at the end, everything. So my recommendation to everyone is don't stop learning. Don't stop learning. The solutions that everybody requires today and will require in the future need, a combination of knowledge. We are not gonna solve anything if we are just focusing one topic. That's my what I can say from my experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a really great advice for us. Taking back to the intercontinental collaboration or lesson that we can learn, and in one of your papers, you also alluded to that. For instance, in Africa, we have regional research organization or supporting agricultural research at the national levels like FARA and AGRA, ASARECA, CORAF, CARDESA. These are all regional and continental organizations supporting the national system, especially from the agricultural fund or the trust fund that you mobilize from the different countries. And this model, how they can really learn from what FONTAGRO has done and then move it forward. Is there a room of collaboration to learn from each other, or what advice that you can give to these organizations? Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, in 2023, I was invited by the time that Innovation Lab from the Feed the Future existed, I was invited to Costa Rica, and I met at least 30 different representatives from the National Research Institute in Africa. So I used that opportunity very quickly. We went to a bar and say, hey, I want to talk to you about FONTAGRO and what we do. Maybe that can help. And we gathered very like in an impromptu meeting. And what we discussed basically was that Africa is so diverse, not just by the agroecosystems, is the social structure, the political structure, that they say this is going to be difficult to implement. But I say, no, I mean, maybe it will take a little bit more time, but we need to find a way to make this happen. So my recommendation, and Moti, I would like to work with you and anyone else that want to do it. I'm happy to do it. Is we need to start having conversation with all the infrastructure that you have in the region, FARA and many other that you mentioned. All the coordination, the regional organizations that are in the region, together with the National Research Institute, but also with the universities. One big mistake is leave the universities, outside this innovation system. We need to make them be part of the conversation. So I would like to have, maybe virtual meetings until we get, in a plan, like 3 or 4 activities that we can do, and then you need to move to where those decisions are taken. Probably African Development Bank, as you know, all multilateral development banks, they work in this way. They have like country representatives, which constitute the board of directors of every development bank. And then you have the administration, the people that work in agriculture, in housing, in health. So all the people that are in the board of the directors are delegates by the president of each country and the minister of finance. That's the people we need to talk to, and they will help you. I mean, if we create a plan that is really easy to implement, or at least has 3 areas where they see, yes, this can work, they will help you. And we always have the no, but we don't like to get the no. I always like to go for a yes. So it's just a matter of getting together, put ideas together, make a consensus with all the people that is in the innovation systems, and then when we have a clear path on what we want to do, so then let's go to the next level of on the policy level and see how we can work together with them. Sounds easy. I know that it's not easy, but at least is something that I would like to offer to do.
Yeah, thank you, Eugenia. Yes, I'll get back to a simple question for discussion. Looking back, if you had the chance to start your university education and career all over again, do you still start with agronomy, economics, accounting, and finance, or where and why?
Oh no, I will do
Or
exactly the
something
same.
different?
No, I will do exactly the same. I will start first for the science side because I met people that they work in finance and they say, oh, but I don't know anything about agriculture. And I think it's more challenging to start as to be a scientist when you are older. So I will recommend, I like what I did. I started by science. I was doing science at the university, and I think my first 10, 15 years or more. And then I started to add more discipline related with the business side. I did also a master in agribusiness, food and agribusiness that I forgot to mention. So I have a different kind of things, but all of them are related and they have a specific timing on what I did. So I will do exactly the same. Science first, agribusiness to understand private sector, economics to understand how to develop policies, and finance. That was like simultaneously.
Thank you. Maybe I'll raise two questions and then hand back the mic to Isabel. You said you're about to finish your term at FONTAGRO as executive secretary. What is next?
I don't know. Honestly, I think I have some ideas. Of course, I am applying to a position that I think I can contribute. Private sector is also interesting to me. Working at ICA is also interesting to me. But this is, I think, the first time that I'm open to see what happens next. But at the end, I know that whatever comes to me, I will be able to give, good work. So that's my commitment in everything I do. If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do as much better I can do.
Yeah, thank you. And any specific project that you really financed and really happy about the impact because it is having impact on people's life, and especially women, resource poor farmers, or geographically isolated farmers. And if you can just tell us one on that, and what made that project successful, because of the great technology it generated or because of the delivery mechanism? Thank you.
Yeah, great. There is a project that I really like. It's a joint project, which I started proposing it to the directors in 2020. Something that I recommend also to everybody is read everything that comes from, the international organization, the document, especially when we are looking at trends. So we know that urbanization is growing, and this is a trend that nobody will stop. I mean, we can do better in building rural cities, which I think I offered that to a development bank a long time ago when I say, we need to focus in a project that help rural cities to be more efficient and more modern and, and be also an innovation hub, especially the high universities. But even though, cities are growing, they are going to grow every time more. And the question there is how we are going to feed the cities. Because you can be very efficient in moving tomato from, the West Coast to the East Coast, but that is not sustainable, especially when the, energy cost rises, right? So then I start thinking what we can do to feed the cities in a more efficient way and with very healthy food. So that became the starting of my research in vertical agriculture and indoor agriculture. So I started thinking and designing, okay, normally cities have, some areas that they are underdeveloped or they have infrastructure that is abandoned. or and this is something that I have to be analyze and work with specialists in urban cities, no, in urbanizations. So we started working in Fontagro in a project that is related with vertical agriculture and indoor agriculture to try to see how technologies can be improved in order is not to be very costly, but also provide people inside the city. I will not say with 100% of what you get in the supermarket, but at least maybe 3 or 4 or 5 crops that you can produce inside the city in very short terms and can help to decrease, prices, and also create shops and create more inclusive shop for youth, for women. So we are working on that right now in 4 countries, in Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Argentina. And every group of scientists is testing different strategies. And this is one of the best projects that we have right now, and I think they have a very good future as well.
Thank you. Maybe as a last one, looking back on your own journey, what words of inspiration or guidance or advice that you'd like to offer to young scientists in agricultural research, including our young scientists in CIMMYT, who are really aspiring to become leaders like you and use their work to improve lives and shape a more sustainable future? Thank you.
Thank you, Moti. I think what is a very good motivation is thinking on what kind of solutions we can bring to people. So just pick one. Pick one solution that you are excited about it, and see how you can work on that. And at the same time, read a lot, learn a lot, don't stop learning, because in order for us to give good solution, we need to know what is happening around us. And it is not just about agriculture. It's about about everything that is around agriculture that we need to also learn. So my advice is, be open to keep learning. Don't be afraid to learn. Dedicate 1 or 2 days in the time you can to learn something new, and especially something that is not related with agriculture. Because if you are in agriculture, you already have the knowledge. The point is how we can approach to other disciplines that we are not very, that we don't know much about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eugenia, for your thoughtful and insightful responses to the questions that I raised. I think we've gained very valuable lessons from the conversation that we had, and both from your scientific journey and also your leadership experience at Fontagro. I truly appreciate, and taking the time to share your reflection with that. Thank you very much. So with that, I'll give the mic back to Isabel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moti, Yaleta, for having this inspiring and very enthusiastic conversation with Eugenia Saini, who has an outstanding professional path. Congratulations, Eugenia. Now we would like to invite the audience to participate in the upcoming Q&A session. Be ready to raise your hand, open your micro and your camera. Also, you are invited to submit questions via Slido for our distinguished speaker of today. One of the first questions that we received through Slido is, what advice do you have for CIMMYT scientists to be more responsive to emerging research priorities in the Fontagro region?
I think something that I would like to do is have more frequent conversations with CIMMYT scientists, because I think this is something that I was mentioning at the beginning. We need a space where we can exchange, look, this is my priority, so this is what I think that is the best approach for solving this topic. So I will be happy to set, I will not say every month, but maybe every 2 or 3 months, we can build a space and where we can build something together. So I'm very happy and open to do that, Isabel, with everybody at CIMMYT.
Thank you so much. So I think our team would be very ready and happy to have this conversation with you to identify these priorities and be ready for working with you. There is another question here. It says, what do you do outside of work to foster balance and harmony in your life?
Oh, good. So, of course, I have a family. I mean, my partner and his two kids. And also, I love sports. So, for a long time, I was doing, I'm a little bit ashamed. I'm, shy to mention, but I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. I feel that, it's very fun. And more recently, I start doing weightlifting, which I recommend to everybody. Please, as I said to everybody that you need to dedicate one day to learn something, please go 3 times to the gym or even in your house. I can provide a plan for that too. If someone is interested, I'm happy to do it. So I have a plan and an app where I follow up all my workout that I do, and this is something that I recommend everybody. It's very important to work out and it's well. So this is just for you. I have everything I did today. So sport is very important, and I love sports. So I recommend that, and this is what I do.
Thank you. So a balance, professional growth, learning every day, having a family
Workout.
time, and a workout, exercises, strength. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. There is one more question here. You have surely been one of just a few women in boardrooms. How do you ensure that you are heard when there are many other strong personalities in the room?
I'm normally don't like to talk much. I like to hear more. And if I have to talk, I will be the last one. I mean, the last person. Because when you have in a room, for me, if this is something that's come with me, I mean, I like to hear everybody first. That's more important. And, if I have the chance to talk at the end, perfect. And if I don't have the chance, I can talk with that people later, so but I think when you are in meetings, I think it's important to hear what people need to say, especially if there are people that they have a high level positions or no level position. I mean, just partners. So it's not easy. Sometimes, I say that, and at the same time, when I'm working with scientists, sometimes it's a mess and everybody want to talk. But I think this rule that I'm learning and I'm applying, I think is best. It's just to be good listener, and try to make the ideas clear. And after we have the idea clear, we decide if it makes sense to make an opinion or make a comment, not an opinion, a comment. And if that comment can be given at that time, great. And if not, we look for another time, because sometimes we don't have time to talk to everybody. But at least we have the chance to hear them.
Yeah, listening to others is quite important, and it is also a way of learning and be aware of the others' needs or the others also professional
Yeah.
growth and experience and expertise. Here we have another question. It says that, can you talk about a time where you were when you faced with a major challenge in your career and how you handled it? How you grew from that experience?
Oh, yes. I had one recently. Fontagro was in a transition process in our operation model since 2020 to March 20th, last March 20. It took all those years. So over those years, a lot of things happens. People from one organization were saying this, the other one saying that, the board was taking this decision, and then the board took an opposite decision, and I was like, when that happened, I applied something that I learned when I was at the farm, when I was working on the field. And it's like, just live and see where everybody goes. When you don't have the tool to make this like in a batch, just open the door and whatever happened, and then we will figure it out. And that was the best I did, and I think it was the right way to approach. Because when you work with so many countries, so many directors, it's not easy to make that everybody have to convene and agree on something. And actually, consensus is a process. Consensus is not that you are going to sit and everybody will agree. No, that will take a lot of times. So you need to be open to that. So my challenge was that, no, how to approach when the board take this decision, and then because the people who represent the boards, they change frequently. So it's I studied again. So maybe they take another decision later, maybe like 3 or 4 months after. But I say, okay, let's give time, and maybe the consensus process will not take 1 month. It will take 1 year. But if at the end the result is what we expect, let that happen in 1 year. So this is something that I think is healthy, because we are human beings. We cannot push that everybody need to agree on the same timing. So that's something that happened to me, and I'm happy about it, and I'm happy that we finally finish our transition process last month.
Congratulations. Yeah, so it was a long process, a few years, but at the end, there is something good at the end, no? that you can, a good result. Very good. So continuing with these reflections, there is one more question here. What strategies should be developed for strengthening agriculture science research and development for food security and climate change resilience in the Global South?
Thank you. I will say that scientists, we need to start working in consortia. We need to start working with people that is from different disciplines, and we need to make a mechanism for that. And we need to work with scientists in that topic that they are in another region, in another countries. We need to create like diversity in consortia. Because when you have to approach a specific problem, don't hear only the people that is around you because they are in the same discipline like you. Try to make virtual meetings with other people that are working in other fields and just share this. And this is something that I will implement in FONTAGRO in the next few weeks. I would like to have a space, a virtual space every Friday. We actually have it, but another virtual space just to talk with scientists. For example, we invite one scientist to talk about vertical agriculture, but it's going to be people that is working in livestock or is working in seed production. So, let's make these connections. Like, let's open our minds and make, other scientists to talk about this, to vertical agriculture. I think in order to speed innovation, I think we need more of that, more diversity in the people that we work with.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also here we have a comment by Dr. Bram. We thank you very much for everything. It is always a pleasure to interact, to work with you together for a common goal. So thank you very much on behalf of Dr. Bram. And for closing this conversation, would you please share with us some words of wisdom for the audience to take away?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to thank you and thank Dr. Bram, and I love the work he's doing and all of you are doing. Be close to FONTAGRO. We actually are having a call for proposal, so please see how you can join us as well. And final word is we need to keep learning. We need to learn, and we need to manage our time in a way that we feel satisfied with, personal life, with learning something new, and be close to the people that we need to make solution for. So this is the three things that I will highlight mostly, and happy to keep in contact with anybody else that would like to talk later as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Eugenia, for sharing with us your professional growth. We are inspired to continue and follow your path. Thank you. And on behalf of Dr. Brangovers, Director General of CIMIT, we thank Eugenia Saini for sharing, for being here today. We also appreciate Jyoti Moti Jaleta for having a great and stimulating conversation with Eugenia. And we invite the audience to join the upcoming Catalyst of Change Advancing Equity and Inclusion in Science seminar. Have a great day. Have a nice evening. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mari. Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you.
Bye.